Hey Browns fans, welcome into another season of Browns Live as we get ready for the 2021 Cleveland Browns season, which begins this Sunday in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. On today's show, we go into the player spotlight with Kareem Hunt, and we go into the film room with the Hoff Joe Thomas. But as always, this show is about you, so use the hashtag Browns Live to get your questions answered right here on the show. And we kick things off with the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski. And Coach, we're finally here. Does it feel like this has been a long time coming?
It has been a long time coming. I think really when that schedule comes out, you circle the date always of that first game, and it's hundreds of days away, and then finally we're here in game week.
All right, let's go kind of over a big overview of the offseason. What did you think of the way things went since you got this team back here?
Yeah, I think the guys have really worked hard. I think we've implemented some different schemes. We've added some nuance, some wrinkle, and when you do that, you're really asking the guys to lock in and own what you're doing. So I've been really pleased with how the guys have been in the meeting rooms, out on the field, knowing that this is a process and a lot of work goes into it.
And you also had a new process here, preseason games. For you, first time with the Cleveland Browns. What was kind of that process like?
It was all part of that training process, and I thought the guys handled it nicely. We got into some games, and we're fortunate enough being late in the game and trying to go win the game. I think that's always important for the organization, for any of the players that are out there, typically the young guys. We want to go win, and I thought it was really good effort by those guys, and I think there was great drive to go perform at their best under the lights.
When you think about a normal training camp, you don't, like last year, for example, you didn't have those preseason games to validate what you saw here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. This year you did, and a guy who kind of validated what you're seeing is Malik McDowell. One of the craziest stories, I mean, this could end up being a movie, and I know we're just getting started, but what was that kind of whole experience like, watching him develop and then go into those preseason games and really make a statement that I have to be on this team, and not only be on this team, I have to play for this football team?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just getting started, but to see where he's come just in the months that we've been together, transforming his body, understanding what we're asking him to do from a scheme standpoint. He's done everything that we've asked of him. I mean, from the meeting room to the field, he's battled through some injuries, and just every step along the way, he's really worked his tail off. And I think the guys see that, his teammates see that, and I'm happy for Malik. And ultimately, it's important that he goes in there and plays well. But it's a great story. It's somebody who's really working to get back to where he should be.
When you take us kind of behind the curtain for a second, when you're in a film session with the team, and I'm sure some of the highlights come up, but for example, the one in Atlanta where he just throws a grown man back like a child. What's kind of the reaction when people get to see things like that?
Yeah, it's always fun in those moments, and with the defense as a whole. Whenever somebody makes a big play, we call them those splash plays, and everybody takes notice. So Malik had a bunch of other guys had him in these preseason games, and that is the fun part, the excitement that the teammates have for each other when they're making a play.
Another splash play in the preseason came from Baker Mayfield when he was rolling left and threw an absolute dime. Was it nice to see your quarterback get some action and to see him perform that way?
Yeah, he did a nice job. That was always part of the plan in that last preseason game, to get him in the first-team offense going for a few plays, and it ended up being 2 series. I thought they did a nice job. I just think the operation, the mechanics of everything, it's nice to get some live reps of that before we get into the season.
As training camp wound down, how did you start to balance, okay, let's still get this good work, ones-on-ones, brown on brown, but also, okay, let's start thinking about Kansas City in this season?
Yeah, really, as you end training camp, you're really trying to make sure that you bring a fresh football team to the regular season, but you have to bring a sharp football team to the regular season as well. So we've tried to be very mindful of getting our good work in, and also being intentional about how we can make sure these guys are ready to go for a 17-game season. So we tried to wind it down and be smart about that, and then you turn your attention to the Chiefs, and it's a great challenge for us. And I think the guys understand that there's a ton of work that has to be put in order to give yourself a chance Sunday at Arrowhead.
And we will talk about that game Sunday at Arrowhead later on in the show. When we return on Browns Live, Joe Thomas joins us, and we talk to Kareem Hunt in this week's Player Spotlight.
They said it couldn't be done, but somehow CCM was able to close this home in just 21 days. Carl, how'd you pull this off?
Oh, hard work, dedication, grinding.
Were you ever worried?
Well, you know, Chloe, they pinned us in deep in the second bedroom, inspection issues, but we regrouped. Knew there was still a lot in play.
Well, I'm sure the Franklins were pleasantly surprised.
We got a good organization here. A lot to look forward to.
Good luck with the next close. And there you have it. Cross Country Mortgage is dedicated to getting it done.
The world has changed, but some facts remain. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack, and every hour, over 700 people suffer a broken bone. While those numbers haven't changed, there are fewer people seeking the treatment they need. If you're injured, sick, or in pain, it's safe to get the care you need at university hospitals. Protecting your health with science and compassion. That's UH Safe.
Be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games in future seasons.
Towards the end zone, caught by Donovan Peoples-Jones, touchdown! The Browns are winners again.
Deposits start at just $100 per seat. Reserve your spot today by visiting clevelandbrowns.com. Welcome back to Browns Live. Nathan Zegura here, and as they like to say, business is about to pick up as we welcome in my co-host for this season on Browns Live, the legend himself, Joe Thomas. And Joe, you were here at training camp. You did a great job in the booth with these preseason games. So you've seen this team kind of putting the work to get ready for this season. What did you see kind of leading up to what should be an exciting season and obviously an exciting opener in Kansas City?
Well, I saw a team that made a big step this offseason and through training camp, not only on the defensive side of the football, but on offense, they're bringing everybody back. But the thing that really struck me in that training camp was watching Baker Mayfield and the leadership that he is possessing now, not only just with the offense, but with the entire team. All 53 people feel an accountability to that quarterback position, and that's how championship teams are made.
And they often say the best friend for a quarterback is not only excellent receivers, which the Browns have, but a great running game in that tandem of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, as good as any. I'm sure you wouldn't have minded blocking for that duo here in this season.
I would have taken just one of them during my career, Nathan. Those guys, it's been talked about a lot. That's the best duo in the NFL in the backfield. Either one of those guys are top 5 running backs in another program, but the unselfishness between the two of them, to have the relationship that they have and to have as much love for the other guy's success as those two do, that's something that's very rare in the NFL.
It is a special relationship. You've got Kareem Hunt, who led the league in rushing a few years ago. Nick Chubb, second in the league in rushing a couple of years ago. And last year, when you count the playoffs, both of them over 1,200 total yards and 12 total touchdowns. Only the 4th time in NFL history a running back tandem has done that in the same season. Let's learn a little bit more about Kareem Hunt. Our Andrew Gribble caught up with him in this week's Player Spotlight presented by McDonald's.
All right, we're joined now by Browns running back Kareem Hunt. And Kareem, just tell me what it's like with these emotions getting into the first game of the season and a big one at that against the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's real now, and we got a great team to start off against. And, I'm definitely getting real excited, because, we had a good game last year, and now we're trying to build off that and, hopefully come out of there with a win this time.
When you look back at that game, what is something that maybe encourages you, or what's something you wish that went a different way from an offensive perspective?
I mean, it's a couple plays that we wish we can have back, but we can't really think about those. We just got to learn from them and, don't make the same mistake, coming into this next one.
Now, as a guy that gets excited anytime Kansas City's on the schedule, what was your thoughts, though, when you saw that it was game 1 of the 2021 season?
I mean, I was kind of shocked, but I guess that's what everybody wants to see, So I'm excited we get to see them early. It'll be a good test and, something we can build off of.
Now, for you, you're part of an offense that has been as stable as probably possible in the NFL. Pretty much everyone is back from last year when you finished the season up in Kansas City. What kind of advantage does that have for a team to be so stable, and how have you guys worked to improve to be even better?
Well, it's a great advantage, the same coaches, same players, and, we know a lot about each other. We know what guys are good at, what guys aren't so, strong at, but, it's, we on the same, we got chemistry together. So that's a positive about, having everybody come back.
Now with this matchup on Sunday, there's a lot of focus on Kansas City's offense, understandably, but what do they do defensively that makes it tough for you guys?
Those guys, fly around. They play hard, they play fast, and they got definitely some playmakers on that side of the ball, and they're gonna do whatever they can to disguise things and, try to confuse us.
Now, Kareem, Browns Live is all about the fans, and we're closing things out here with a question from a Browns fan, and this comes from Rick Amador. He wonders, what's your pregame meal and rituals for a 4:00 game, and what songs do you listen to get right before kickoff?
My pregame meal is usually I wake up, have some breakfast, like some scrambled eggs, grits, and bacon and stuff. And then I'll probably eat, if we play at a 4:00 game, I'll probably eat again, maybe like some grilled chicken or something around like noon, and pasta and stuff like that, but not too much. It's hard for me to eat on game day. And then I definitely have to listen to, either some Future, Drake, or Rod Wave. I mean, I got a playlist. I don't really have like one song. I feel like all those songs get me in a good mood and amped up.
All right, Kareem, thank you so much, and good luck Sunday against the Chiefs.
Thank you.
You'll love to see the energy and the passion of Kareem Hunt, and believe me, he's had this one circled on the calendar since the day the schedule came out. Really, the whole team, an opportunity to go back to Kansas City and start this season where the last season ended, and hopefully get a different outcome and get on the road at 1-0. When we come back on Browns Live, we'll go into the film room. Joe Thomas and I bring you this week's Play Breakdown.
They said it couldn't be done, but somehow CCM was able to close this home in just 21 days. Carl, how'd you pull this off?
Oh, hard work, dedication, grinding.
Were you ever worried?
Well, Chloe, they pinned us in deep in the second bedroom, inspection issues, but we regrouped. Knew there was still a lot in play.
Well, I'm sure the Franklins were pleasantly surprised.
We got a good organization here. A lot to look forward to.
Good luck with the next close. And there you have it. Cross Country Mortgage is dedicated to getting it done.
Touchdown, Nick Chubb! He's done it again!
Be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games in future seasons.
Towards the end zone, caught by Donovan Peoples-Jones, touchdown! The Browns are winners again!
Deposits start at just $100 per seat. Reserve your spot today by visiting clevelandbrowns.com.
The world has changed, but some facts remain. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack, and every hour, over 700 people suffer a broken bone. While those numbers haven't changed, there are fewer people seeking the treatment they need. If you're injured, sick, or in pain, it's safe to get the care you need at university hospitals. Protecting your health with science and compassion. That's UH Safe.
Welcome back into Browns Live. Nathan Zegura and the Browns legend, Joe Thomas. And Joe, last year, the Browns got into the divisional round of the playoffs. They went to Arrowhead Stadium. They took on the Kansas City Chiefs, where this season will begin. What can be learned from that game that could perhaps help the Browns this time around?
Well, I think it's going to come down to defense and the addition of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, that speed in the middle of that defense to be able to cover Travis Kelce, the great all-pro tight end from the Chiefs, but also to be able to contain Patrick Mahomes when he gets outside the pocket and tries to extend plays, I think could be the difference that tilts this game in the Browns' favor versus what we saw last year in the playoffs.
And one of the things you shared with me earlier this offseason that I love is, look, we know their offense, they know our offense, we know their defense, but they don't really know this version of the Browns defense, do they?
Yeah, and that's going to be a big advantage for the Browns defense because especially early on in the season, there's not a lot of scouting reports. There's not a lot of film on these new look defenses, and that's definitely in their advantage. You can bet Joe Woods has been spending all offseason coming up with creative ways to handle those guys that the Chiefs are going to have to go back to the drawing board at some point in the game and come up with an answer for.
Browns Live is all about the fans, and we have a question for you. This one comes to us from @WinnieLaPoo, and he says, what are the benefits, Joe, of having total continuity on the offensive line?
Well, it's a huge benefit because you don't have to start over every season because communication, it's like algebra and calculus, they build upon each other. That's what the communication and the camaraderie is on an offensive line. And so when you're constantly replacing parts, you start back to square one and you have to build your way up. But when you're back together and you're putting the whole band back together, you're able to start in the calculus 2 room right off the bat. And so you're talking about high level things that maybe you didn't even get to towards the end of last season. So that just makes you a better offensive line that's going to make fewer mistakes. And as we know, fewer mistakes is how an offensive line is judged.
And this offensive line, absolutely one of the best in the National Football League, and we're so lucky to have them back. Jed Wills, Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. But it's time now to go into the film room for this week's Play Breakdown presented by Microsoft. And Joe, Kevin Stefanski in the third preseason game played some of the starters there for a little bit. And no doubt he knew Kansas City was going to be watching, and I think he showed some wrinkles maybe to get them thinking a little bit. And let's start off with this first play. We're going to see Demetric Felton, who I've circled here at the top of our screen, go into jet motion here to just kind of make the Falcons think the play might be going this way, and then we're going to get a throwback screen on the backside. Joe, take it away.
Yeah, the reason you sent Demetric Felton in motion here pre-snap is so the blockers get that man zone read so they know who they're looking for when they're getting out to block. But watch the great job of the timing between the blockers, Dearness Johnson and Baker Mayfield. Dearness Johnson does a great job bluffing the nickel pressure man that the Falcons are sending off the edge. And what he does is he makes him think that he's going to block him until the last second, and then he slips it. That timing is so important because Baker Mayfield's going to get back to the launch point. He's going to set his feet for a second. That draws all the blitzers and all of the rushers towards the quarterback. And then he takes 2 more steps. It gives him the ability to throw the ball over the top of the pass rushers. And it gives the offensive lineman the ability to get out and get in front of that screen pass. And then Dearness Johnson does a great job. He catches the football and he's trying to get up the numbers. That is the aiming point for the blockers. We call that the sidewalk or the alley. That's why Joel Bitonio, you see him running flat. He's trying to get to those numbers. He's trying to get to that blocker who's going to be stretched to the sidelines and create that alley for Dearness Johnson to get up and get down the field for a nice 14, 15-yard gain. Browns do a great job with timing, which is the key to having any successful screen pass.
That pre-snap motion, Joe, you mentioned, it gives a tell to the offensive line, to the quarterback. You get an idea of what a team is trying to do defensively. And now here's another little wrinkle. The Browns did a little bit of this late last season, but you know who does a lot of it? The team they're playing this Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs. This is called orbit motion, where Demetric Felton will go like he's going in the jet motion and then circle back around the quarterback going this way. And it's a way to try to maybe create some space, and you're going to try to hit Dearness Johnson on an inside handoff coming off of that orbit motion.
Yeah, the Browns are using Demetric Felton all over the field, trying to give the Kansas City Chiefs something to think about for that game that's coming up next weekend. And the Browns do a great job here. This is actually a design cutback inside run. If you watch the inside, guys, this is really fun for an old offensive lineman like me to watch, because usually the combination block between the center and the backside guard is a double team. But what you see Nick Harris doing on this play, he's actually running an escape A technique here, where he's trying to get out of the way of the nose guard, which allows Wyatt Teller to get a crushing down block on that nose guard. He knocks him all the way to the ground for the pancake. Here you see the escape A technique that's happening on the inside. You see David Njoku with the down block, and then you see Jack Conklin getting up into the second level. And you see how all these guys on the inside, they're blocking the backside half of their linebacker. That's a designed cutback play. You see Dearness Johnson cutting right back off the top of it. And then the only man that's free is a secondary element who's got David Njoku one-on-one. And anytime you can get your running back unblocked into the secondary where he's one-on-one with a smaller player, that's a win for the offense. So only a 4-yard run, but 4-yard runs can be beautiful if you're an offensive lineman and you understand how beautiful this is and how well designed this play is by Kevin Stefanski to be able to maybe bust that one for a big run the next time.
It certainly is. And oh boy, this is just some preseason tape. Can't wait next week to bring you some regular season tape of your Cleveland Browns. But a lot of exciting kind of wrinkles potentially to be added into this offense by your head coach, Kevin Stefanski, and that great offensive staff. And speaking of the head coach, when we return here on Browns Live, he will join us to preview the season opener between the Browns and the Chiefs.
The world has changed, but some facts remain. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack, and every hour, over 700 people suffer a broken bone. While those numbers haven't changed, there are fewer people seeking the treatment they need. If you're injured, sick, or in pain, it's safe to get the care you need at university hospitals. Protecting your health with science and compassion. That's UH Safe.
Be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games in future seasons.
Towards the end zone, caught by Donovan Peoples-Jones, touchdown! The Browns are winners again.
Deposits start at just $100 per seat. Reserve your spot today by visiting clevelandbrowns.com.
They said it couldn't be done, but somehow CCM was able to close this home in just 21 days. Carl, how'd you pull this off?
Oh, hard work, dedication, grinding.
Were you ever worried?
Well, you know, Chloe, they pinned us in deep in the second bedroom, inspection issues, but we regrouped. Knew there was still a lot in play.
Well, I'm sure the Franklins were pleasantly surprised.
We got a good organization here. A lot to look forward to.
Good luck with the next close. And there you have it. Cross Country Mortgage is dedicated to getting it done.
Welcome back into Browns Live. Nathan Zegura joined by the head coach of your Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, for this week's game preview presented by Ticketmaster. And Coach, the season starts where last season ended. Arrowhead Stadium, the two-time defending AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. When you go ahead and pop that tape back on, I'm sure you've been looking at that quite a bit over the course of this offseason. What stands out to you about this football team?
It's very rare to play the same team from the year before, especially a non-division team. So it's unique to put the tape on. They're in a different spot than last time. We're in a different spot than last time. But it's still the last game both of us have played. So they're studying that tape like crazy, as are we. And you really just try to make sure you go to the game armed with the guys with some opportunities to go make plays, and they're doing the same. But to see that same opponent, it is unique.
Incredible skill position talent, an incredible quarterback in Pat Mahomes. I mean, this is one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL. But are you able to take anything from that Super Bowl? And I think it's pretty obvious, right? Pressure bursts pipes, and pressure disrupts even the greatest quarterbacks. But is that going to be one of the real keys, is going against their revamped offensive line with our revamped defensive line?
Certainly, you always want to pressure the quarterback and make a quarterback uncomfortable. That's not newsworthy. And that's always what we're going to try and do with our defensive line. I know they did revamp their offensive line with some really, really good players. I have a ton of respect for not only the players they brought in, but also their coaching staff. They know what they need to do moving forward, so we got to be ready to adjust to whatever that is. But we anticipate that there'll be a really explosive offense that we have to find ways to stop.
One of the things coming out of that game was you guys wanted to add speed to this defense. I think that was pretty obvious when you look at the overall, the totality of those offseason moves on that side of the ball. Do you feel now like you have some of the speed to maybe try and match up with some of the speed that they have, which is pretty elite?
Yeah, I think anytime you're playing a great offense like we are in the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to balance it with different coverage, different pressures, different fronts, all of the above, because ultimately they have just great team speed. So to say that our speed negates it, I think we just got to play sound defense throughout. And really it's from snap one through whatever they end up playing.
What's kind of the mood amongst the guys? Because there are a lot of new faces here, but there are also a lot of guys that are key contributors, especially on the offense side of the ball. You're basically bringing everybody back that played in that game against Kansas City last year.
I think the guys are ready to go. It's that time. You know, it was a long off season for everybody. It was a long training camp. So to be able to finally dive into game week, dive into the preparations of what game week looks like and feels like, I think the guys are excited.
I know you're excited. I know you love that process, and I can tell you from talking to a lot of guys on your offensive staff, they love that collaboration when you guys get together and say, okay, let's hash out this game plan for this week. How nice is it knowing that the coaches are the same, the players are by and large the same, some new pieces that were added in obviously from your rookie class, but what kind of advantage do you think that maybe gives you, or comfort that it gives you to have that continuity and say, okay, last year we did A, B, C, but now we can do A, B, C, D, E, F?
Yeah, I think it helps for sure in your process. I think when you have continuity, like you mentioned, through the staff, through the players, it gives you a chance to have continuity in your process. Maybe it makes your process a little bit more efficient, if you will. So the guys have really worked hard to make sure that we're giving them a bunch of plays that arm them with the ability to go make a play.
Coach, I know how much you like Nick Chubb, and obviously the extension that he was rewarded with in this offseason proves how much he likes this organization and that the organization likes him. We haven't gotten to see him yet. How excited are you to see him carry the ball?
Well, we've seen him at practice, and I think he's ready to go. I mean, Nick, as everybody knows, is diligent about his work, came in great shape. He's excited. He's ready to go, and I think the guys are excited to see him out there in a game.
All right, Coach, on Browns Live, we always take a question from our fans, and this one comes from a Twitter handle, @KingStefanski. And he wants to know, what's the biggest question facing this team that you hope to have answered against Kansas City?
I think it's such a long season, so you're going to hit some bumps in the road. Could be in week one, could be in week two, could be really throughout the season. So it's about responding to those moments when you need to have to stop them. You have to get a score, and that's just the course of a 60-minute football game. Those things are going to happen. So I think I'm excited to see our guys in those moments respond.
Coach, thanks so much for the time, and best of luck on Sunday against the Chiefs for the start of what we all hope is a very exciting season.
Thanks, Nathan.
All right, that will do it for the debut of Browns Live in 2021. All the excitement. Oh boy, we've been waiting a long time for this. The Browns and the Chiefs this Sunday. Coverage starts at 11 a.m. on News 5 with Browns Countdown. I'll be bringing you the latest from Arrowhead Stadium. For the Hoff, Joe Thomas, for Kareem Hunt, for our head coach, Kevin Stefanski, I'm Nathan Zegura saying thanks for watching another edition of Browns Live, and let's go Browns.